Okay, so I've been keeping my readings to myself lately for probably the last month or so, because I'm coming to find out that yeah, I'm just coming to find certain things out about this part of the journey, and I've been keeping my readings to myself, like I said. But I was doing this particular reading, and there was a message that came through that said that I should record and share my thoughts with you guys. And the thought that I had was that it's really important to me in this channel that I show like the truth of how we learn anything. In this case, it's tarot, but really how we learn anything that we're learning. It really is a process, and a lot of times when we watch people, and all we can see is where they are. We don't see the journey, and it's really because those people don't really like describe their true feelings in every phase, and that's what I really want to accomplish with this channel. So with that being said, I started out because I thought tarot was about, when I started my tarot journey, I thought it was about, I thought the cards were about, like they had specific meanings, and I had to learn what the meaning meant in order to be able to read tarot, and so that's kind of why I developed that placemat and those cards to kind of help me. Remember, because I found myself at the beginning of my journey, I started out just picking one card every day, and then I would Google that card, and then before I know it, I'm on Google for hours looking at all the different explanations and all that kind of stuff. And so I was like, yo, like I can't keep doing this. So I developed the cards. I kind of did like my research, and I picked like my favorite explanations for each card that I had found. I picked the ones that resonated with me the most in that moment. So that's how I developed the cards and the cheat sheets. And so, the more that I used it, the more the truth of tarot started to unfold, like right in front of me, and I'm realizing that it really is it's a process. It's really a journey. And so I transitioned from, thinking that the cards had a specific meaning and I had to memorize what that meaning was, like being more hands-on, to actually letting the gift unfold and speak to me. So now I'm kind of at this point where first I started with the whole entire mat, and I was using my my gems, which is very methodical with the whole thing. And then I transitioned to these cards and the questions, and I would just kind of lay out the cards and the questions like in the order that they came out. And I don't know, like intuitively I was feeling like the readings weren't true. The readings weren't like, for me, what they were supposed to be, right? Because I was just kind of like not really following myself, following my intuition. I was following what I had read online about what somebody else had said. And I was just kind of letting the cards come out how they may, rather than using my intuition, what my mind is telling me, and what the energy of the cards are telling me, like where they should lay, and what cards go with what cards, and what questions go with what cards. Like I'm more like, and it's just kind of like a natural progression. Like one minute I was having to look up everything, and then I just kind of naturally eased into not wanting to look up things anymore and just kind of use my intuition more. But I was kind of patient with myself with that process. I didn't jump and say, oh, I want to go straight to, being able to interpret the cards. No, I started from the beginning. Yeah. I started with help. And then I figured out ways to become more and more independent in my own way. So yeah, so these are the cards that we have laid out so far. It just kind of jumped out of the deck as I was shuffling. So that's what we got. Whatever. And then I'm going to use my other deck too. So even with the decks, at first I started thinking, I can only use one deck during a reading. And then I was like, ooh, I could use two decks, and then I can have two cards that clarify every question. And then yeah, it's hard for me to shuffle and talk at the same time. Queen of Wands. 7 of Wands, Death. This Death card keeps coming out. Somebody died. Somebody is dying. Something's going on with the death. It has to be. Because, death comes out one time in a reading. You're like, okay. It just means that, old things are going away, or things are going away in order for new things to come in. That's how I look at death anyway. Yeah, just making way for new energy. So yeah, when it comes out the first time, you're like, okay, yeah, that's what it is. And then it comes out that has come out maybe 10 or 11 times in the past couple months, past 3 months, 4 months. Really, since I've started heavy doing the tarot, I think that comes out every other reading, or really frequently. Really, really frequently. But funny enough, when I was using the cards and the placemat, did that? Yeah, it did. I was gonna say that it never came out, but it did. It did come out. It still came out in that instance. Because I was worried that those readings weren't really true to me, but you know what? They were. They were true to who I was at that time. And now I've grown and learned, and it's time for me to embrace the new Rashida. So here we are. Alright. So King of Swords, we'll put that with the Eight of Swords, the World, 6 of Cups, the Tower, Hanged Woman, 6 of Swords, the High Priestess, 6 of Swords. Did that come out twice? Oh. Got a few sixes. 6 of Swords, Cups, 6, 7, 8, 9. Succession. Alright, so let's put them in order by numbers. 6, 7. And sometimes I get the thought to do a certain thing during certain readings, and then sometimes I don't. So I'm learning that maybe that's what it is to use your intuition. Just kind of being in the moment and not getting caught up in a way of always doing things. So yeah, that's it. Alright, so we got 2 6s, and then 2 7s, 2 7s, and queens and kings and hierophants and all this stuff. Okay. I forgot there's a top. I can only get 2 rows in the camera. not even, this bottom row is really was showing the most. So let's do 4 down here and then move these over. You guys can maybe see them. Okay. So let me put these back. I went on a trip, and in the airport, like little store or whatever, I guess it would be a souvenir store, like, you know, those little stores or whatever that are in the airport where you could buy stuff. And then yeah, so I went in there and I found these cute little books. So I bought all of them. And this one is Teachings of the Buddha. This one is Mindfulness on the Go. And this one is How to Love. And so I just read like a couple pages out of each book. Sometimes I get the wanting to, sometimes I don't. Like last reading, I didn't read the books. I haven't read them in days, probably weeks. I think hasn't been weeks. It's definitely been a week. But I'm just loving the space that I'm in, because there was a point in time where I would have judged myself for buying the books and then not reading them every day. But I'm realizing you don't need the books every day. You don't have to read them every day for the purchase to be worth it. Every time that I get to pick this book up and read something meaningful from it, that's every time that I get to feel that's like the purchase being worth it over and over again. Or that's benefit that I'm getting every single time. So I don't have to like overdo it by reading the book every day. I can pick it up every now and then and get to like really be surprised every time. Like be like pulled in every time.